College football nation. Now I'm actually saying we are back for real for a second time. We went live this morning. I had some technical difficulties. I apologize if you tuned in. It was only a few minutes. We're starting over this morning. Dave is back. He's got his Wi-Fi working. We're ready to roll. Dave, how you doing this morning?
Joe, I should say I'm doing good, but I'm not sure right now. It's not the first. It's not the last, man. I don't know what happens sometimes in this clouded universe, but I am feeling good and can't wait to talk college football with you and get into today's slate. It's one of the last big ones we got left, right? With all these rivalry matchups today. And then going forward, we're looking at conference championship games, So this is a big one we got to hit.
Yeah, it's wild. The college football season flies by. The fact that we're talking about the last final weeks of this is a little bit depressing, but still fun to be had. We have plenty of time this morning before lock to get our lineups in. And so 14 game slate. Let's dive right into it. Dave, gotta get rid of the
Dude, why McDonald's has better Wi-Fi than me sometimes. I think it's and I pay a lot. I gotta talk to this Comcast. But anyway, yeah, let's dive right into it.
We're moving in. So we started with the Georgia Tech game. Basically, not much to love here. You don't play anyone against Georgia. The only guys I'll be looking at are maybe the running backs on the Georgia side between McIntosh and Edwards.
Yeah, I agree. A 36-point spread, there's just not a lot to love in this game except the running game potentially. But even then, they're going to share it. So I'm with you.
I'm with you there. All right, now we'll look at this. This rivalry. So all these games are rivalries. And my biggest advice, the best way I approach rivalries is chaos happens, right? Like the unexpected happens in rivalry because these teams, they prepare twice as hard. It means more. So you never know. Obviously here, Clemson's the big favorite. I don't love South Carolina, but I will say they looked a lot better last week. Again, granted, that was against a pretty terrible Tennessee defense. And you're getting a big upgrade here on the Clemson side. The only guy on South Carolina I'm maybe even considering is maybe Wells, who's their number one receiver. He's the guy they want to target. He has the potential to have, 6, 7, 8 catches. But again, it's a big upgrade in class going to Clemson here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and what you said about rivalries, it's interesting. You saw Nebraska-Iowa yesterday. Nebraska keeping Iowa out of the Big Ten championship. Florida State, really good game. 7-point, where that spread was a little bigger than that. So I'm with you. I think this could present a closer game. I don't think Clemson's 2 touchdowns better than many teams, but it's not one that'll generate a ton of points. I think it'll be a slower pace game. Rattler's not going for 6. So yeah, I'd lean receiver, and Clemson, I'm probably not playing anything.
The only guy on the Clemson side I'll consider is Shipley. He's obviously their workhorse. He can get a few rushing scores, but I agree. This doesn't feel like the ideal environment to target him.
Yeah, I agree. Even with him, I like him, but he shares carries a little bit. And is he ever going to pop for 30 or 40? Probably not with that pace. I mean, but he's still solid against this D. I agree.
All right. Let's keep this train moving. We'll take a look at this West Virginia Oklahoma State game, which is my favorite DFS game of the day. This is the game to target. From a West Virginia perspective, the best thing that happened is Garrett Green winning the job over JT because now this offense is dynamic. They are going to be a lot more explosive. And Oklahoma State was going to score on West Virginia a lot regardless. But I actually think West Virginia is going to be able to score back with Garrett Green at the helm, which is going to make this one of those high-scoring, get involved in this game affairs that we're going to target on this slate. What do you think, Dave?
I think you're absolutely right. It's funny how, a changing quarterback can really change the way they play, but it really showed last week. And Green popped, and now he's still under 7K, and I think he's in a great spot. He's a guy I think you mentioned it can run as well as pass. So you get that dual threat, which is really important in the college game. So I think Green's in play. And then when you look at the other side, I mean, I think Sanders threw for 67 times last week and even ran for 17 more. So whatever's wrong with his shoulder, it's not showing in how much they're using him. And I think, he's been there forever. And for that sense, I think he's just going to go out in a blaze of glory. So I think this is one of those games you could definitely game stack both quarterbacks.
Yeah, Sanders is my favorite play of the day on the slate. If they play his usage anything like they did last week against this West Virginia team, forget about it. I mean, he's 2 players, maybe even 3 players at one with the way he's throwing for 2 quarterbacks and running for a running back. So his usage is just absolutely insane, and it's just happens to be coming against literally one of the worst defenses in the country.
Right.
Now, I'm happy to pair him here with Johnson or Presley. Those are my 2 favorite stacks. You don't have to pair him with anyone. Feel free to just play him alone. But if you do want to play him with one, Johnson's my preference. And then Presley a distant second, but the second guy I'd put him with.
Yeah, and Johnson, it's been funny, right? He was out for about 4 or 5 weeks there, but came back swinging last week, 7 for 109. I think he's his guy if he's in and healthy. I'd prefer him. It's only $200 more. But Presley, I mean, you could pop with both today with how much these teams should be going up and down the field. I agree with you.
Agreed. And then the only other guy on the other side, if you want to pair Green with someone, I think the guy is Sam James. He doesn't get a ton of volume, but he does break off the big play, so he's capable. Again, if we're calling this a shootout, he'll probably break one off at some point today. So Sam James is the guy from West Virginia I'll be looking to pair. But again, both quarterbacks can be played solo.
Yeah, he had a Randy Moss type game. 3 catches last week, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. So he is that big play guy, and I think Green kind of is looking for him there, and you'll get those chances against OK State. What about Bryce Ford Wheaton? I mean, he's the volume guy, but is that just a little too much for you? Because last week 2 for 12, and against Green, you can't. I mean, I look at it, that was with Green. I don't know if I'd take some correlation there, but I think it's almost too risky.
I agree. I don't like Wheaton as much. Again, from the standpoint of like, you're overplaying this environment and you want to get exposure. Yes, he's going to be on the field a lot, so I can see it. I'd be okay with it, but I prefer James. I find myself at 6,500. He's really expensive. He really needs to be one of your better players, and I just don't see his. Hard to see him getting 150 and 2 or something like that. So I'm probably sticking. I'm not looking that direction.
Yeah, I think I agree too, and I'm not looking at anything in the running game this week. Some of their prime runners are hurt, and like you said, both these guys can run.
Yeah, I'm not that excited about either running game either. I think this becomes a shootout through the air. Now, that was the DFS game of the week. The actual real-life game of the week is going to be Michigan and Ohio State, number 2 and number 3 in the country. This isn't the best DFS environment, right? These are 2 very good defenses. I actually like the under in this game from a betting perspective, especially because Michigan Corum looks like he's banged up. There's injuries on the Ohio State backfield as well. I don't know how healthy either team is going into this game, which to me says I think this is going to be a little bit more defensive in the cold. What are you thinking for this game, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. So how I've seen Ohio State this year is if they play teams with some quality, and they really haven't played many, and I'll get there with Michigan, they've actually, played a slower pace, low scoring game. Now, it broke late in the Penn State game, but just go back to the Notre Dame game early in the year. And I just think that's going to be typical. Last year, I think this game went way over. I think it changes a little bit this year. I think it is a slower pace, more physical game. Michigan hasn't played anybody. It finally showed up last week against Illinois, and they almost got caught. So again, low scoring game when they play some more quality teams. So I think it is lower paced, and I think it's lower scoring. So I'm with you on this one. I actually like the points. I think I like Michigan a little bit here, but who knows, right? Who knows? We'll see when these teams. It's a rivalry game.
Now, there is one sneaky fantasy play I want to highlight. I'm really probably only one guy I'm even playing in the whole game, but it's Michigan's tight end, Luke Schoonmaker. If he's healthy, he's only 3,400, and the idea behind it is if Corum's banged up and they can't run the ball, they got to go to the air. I mean, he is their number 1 or number 2 target. To get him at 3,400, he doesn't have to, go nuts. Like if he gets 50 or 60 yards in a score, that's more than enough value. So I think Schoonmaker can be a guy you can look at as one of your value plays.
Yeah, and on the flip side, because of what you just said, I also look to play Edwards a lot more than Corum today. I don't know if he's just going to be a decoy out there. I mean, when he got hurt last week, he blew up one of my lineups, but he still produced well for 2 quarters. So, it's not like he totally blew it up, but they ran him out there for one more play in the second half, and then that was it. I don't see how he rebounds and comes back into this game this week and is actually produces. I think it's got to be more of an Edwards game, and he's more of a decoy. So I might get cute and play some Edwards today. I'll tell you what, I won't play Jackson Smith and Jigba, even though he's doubtful. I think he's done until the NFL. So when I look on the Ohio State side, I'm probably going to try and get a little bit more at Buka today. I think they're going to focus on Harrison, but still at 7,700, I might not play any passing game here.
Yeah. Again, these are two good defenses too. So, the one thing I will advise in this game is don't fall into the trap of because this is the biggest game of the week, you feel like you have to play players from it. It's the big game of your life, but it doesn't mean it's the big fantasy game. All right. Now, the next game that's pretty interesting is this Coastal Carolina James Madison game. The reason it's interesting is because James Madison's quarterback was clearly underpriced. And it was a mispricing because everyone's going to play him. He's going to take a lot of ownership. But he does have the ability to break the ceiling against a Coastal Carolina defense who's not very good against the pass. And at under 6K, he makes a lot of sense. So, I don't even know. Is it Centio? Centio I like a lot, but I'm just understanding that it comes with a lot of ownership as well.
Yeah, it does. And you're going to get a lot of chalk on this, but it's understood. Coastal Carolina is going from the Black Swarm, which was what they called the defense during COVID, and they had that great run, to just an absolute sieve. They're horrible defensively. This is a beautiful matchup for Centeo. I think it's a great matchup on the ground too, and he runs a lot. So it's going to be hard to get off someone that is this good, can pop 30 for 5,800. I know everybody's going to play him, but it's going to be hard to get away from this one. I think I see this as a 60-70% owned.
Well, that high? Wow.
I do. I mean, you're thinking are you going to start CJ Stroud or even Bennett when you can save $4,000? Yeah, it's tough. Maybe 50, but it's gonna be up there.
Yeah, my favorite way of getting away from him is just going all in on the West Virginia Oklahoma State game, playing both those guys and just going with that whole environment. But after that game, yeah, I mean, there's almost no one else that I could really wrap my head around to play over Centio here. So between the upside and the price, he does make a lot of sense. The issue here with this game is that Grayson McCall, who is an awesome quarterback, is out for Coastal Carolina. Yep. So you're not really 100% sure what you're going to get with this offense coming back. With they're missing their centerpiece. So on the Coastal Carolina side, I'm going to kind of move forward with caution, understanding that we don't know what we're getting from their quarterback. But I think you can play Centio with Thornton's my favorite play here. He's the number one receiver. You get him at 6,200 with a more than affordable price. You get to pair him with somebody. So that's what I'll be looking to pair him with in most of my lineups.
I think you're right. For those that may not be familiar with James Madison, they got ranked in the top 25 earlier this year. They're coming off being his first year in D1 football. They've played mostly in that 1AA or what they call the subdivision now. They're good. They're really, really good. And what they like to do is they like to control the ball on offense and play great defense. So with that last sentence there, I'm off anything Coastal Carolina. And without McCall, I just don't know enough of Coastal and the Chanticleers to be able to play them. So I'm with you. I think I pair Centeo and Thornton, and maybe if I get real cute, I could get Obese in there, but at running back. But I really think I'm going to stay away from the running game.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I feel the same way. All right, now we have this Western Kentucky Florida Atlantic game. I guess I honestly, I'm being honest. I think I can end my quarterback discussion for the rest of the day here with this game.
Yes.
And that's with Austin Reed, right? I'll consider him here because they run this really fast pace. He's going to throw the ball. He's a big piece of their offense at 7,700. He's in play against a much inferior opponent. And you can play him with his receivers, right? Corley is the guy. That's the number one that I'd play him with, but I'm okay with getting some exposure to Hall at 5,400. He's one of my favorite value receivers. And Daywood is the guy who's third in the pecking order, but you can pair him with Daywood as well.
Yeah, he's not quite zappy, but, I mean, they lost a lot of pieces to that offense when they lost their coach, coordinator. So, it's taken some time, but, man, it's a beautiful game environment for them today. I love Austin Reed. I also like to pair him up with N'Kosi Perry. Perry started to turn it on in the past 3 games, averaging about 25 DK points. So I think it's a great game environment for, if you're looking at games today, WVU, OK State, this one. And those are the two that I really want to get game environments of. So, yeah, I could see myself running back some Reed with some Perry as well in certain situations and lineups.
Yeah. And the other guy on the FAU side I like to target is maybe the running back, McCammon, here at 4,800. He's pretty cheap. Again, I think he'll get some extra plays because of the pace of play. So if he can sneak one in at 4,800, I think that's a good value as well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Let's move this train over to the Louisville, Kentucky game. Now, this isn't a great in DFS environment where it should be a ton of points. However, I do really like the running backs for both teams here in this game for a number of reasons. Chris Rodriguez, to me, is an elite running back. I'm talking top 5 or 6 guy every week.
He'll
to
get
get him at 6,200 is way underpriced.
Yep. I agree. And then on the other side, Jordan.
Yep.
I think it's a fantastic option. What's he, 5,200? I'm looking here.
5,200.
Great price for a guy that, you considered Louisville earlier this year as the Malik Cunningham show, and unfortunately, he was one of those favorites for Heisman. Today, he may or may not play. I think they're going to have to be steady. Kentucky does not let you play a shootout, and I think it's going to be more on the ground. So I think the running game is great in this, Jordan and Rodriguez.
Yeah, and Jordan, for the amount of carries he gets and that price, that's just a great value on Jordan here. And, Kentucky is, they're a little bit loose against the run. Like that's where their holes are. So people beat Kentucky on the ground more than through the air. So that's the spot where someone might break through. So those are the 2 guys I'll be looking at here in this game. Other than that, I'm probably off the rest of this game.
Yeah, I agree. It's just an ugly game. Louisville's actually a pretty good defense. They've turned it around lately and played slower games. So yeah, I'm in the running game. I'm out everything else.
All right. All right. So Auburn, Bama. Listen, this is one of those I want to just preface before I dive into this game. Like I said before, rivalry week, weird things happen. I don't think Auburn's going to beat Bama, but if this game is closer than people think, that wouldn't shock me because Auburn, Bama is just how weird things happen in these games all the time. Yes, Bama's expected to kill them, and I'm only going to suggest playing Bama players. I'm not going to suggest anyone on Auburn against Alabama. And if it plays out the way you would expect, the way to go is to just hammer the Alabama ground game. Gibbs should be up for a huge day. If Gibbs is healthy, he seems like a smash play. But I'm just keeping it in the back of my mind. Something weird could happen here.
Yeah, I agree. It's the Iron Bowl, right? I mean, we've seen a missed field goal return for a touchdown at the end of a game to win a game. It has been very, very weird. And Nick Saban has lost most to Auburn. I think he's lost 5 times to Auburn. So it is an environment where it could be a little closer than really the spread shows. But in the end, I think Alabama is definitely more motivated. The one guy I kind of want to get sneaky on here, and let me know if you would even take some shares here. I like Cameron Latou if he does play. I just think, he averages almost 10 DK points a game coming off a, 3-catch, 38-yard touchdown and 1 touchdown. Auburn hasn't been great against tight ends, and I just think you could get a little trickier. If we get running game, add tight end. If you want to go full passing game, I'd probably leave them off.
Yeah, I'm with you in there. He's a good way to get cheap exposure to this Alabama offense if you're expecting a lot of points. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. How about this Oregon State game?
Our boy.
Bo Nix at 9,700. You know what? I haven't played him all year, and I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to stick with what we've done all year. At the end of the day, and in fairness, we never like Bo Nix. But even guys I have a hard time playing at 9,700. So at 9,700 it's hard to play any. They really have to smash. Of course, Bo Nix has proven he can smash. He's done it plenty of times this year. But you're relying on so many points at that price tag. I tend to just totally fade anyone priced up that high.
I agree. I mean, Oregon State's no pushover. Their defense ranks top 50 or 60 in the nation, and playing there and it is tough. They've been showing that they're a very good home team. They had USC on the ropes this year and let it go in the last minute. I think that game was played right around in the low 20s, high teens. So They play, some of these better offenses at home. Well, I'm off Bo Nix, and that's not anything that's surprising. But he's got to get 40 at this price. And last week, I mean, even against Utah, a tough team, he gets 14. He can completely blow up your lineup, or he can just keep it good. I don't know if he can win you anything. You got to win with the other players at 9,700. It's too much, man. It's way too much.
I agree. Now, on the other side of the ball, Damian Martinez has come on as the bell cow running back for this Oregon State team. Now, Oregon's strength is their run defense. They're almost a funnel defense where you want to throw on them. But the identity of Oregon State is to run the ball, and for them to win this game, they're going to want to keep Oregon off the field and maintain the clock. I actually think the talent and the price is too good here, even in not a great matchup. I think Damian Martinez is definitely a plus play today.
Yeah, and I love that kind of what you're thinking. Yesterday, Josh, and hopefully I got his first name right, Josh Palmer, the receiver from Nebraska, looked like a terrible matchup, right, against Iowa. And he goes out and, you just have to have faith with good players, even against good teams. And in this case, I mean, 22 for 138 last week, 28 points. He's the guy, and I think it's a great – they're going to want to physically push Oregon around, and I think they can. I love this play. I think Damian Martinez is a really good play this week.
I love it. I am with you on that. All right, now this Purdue-Indiana game, this is another one of those that I just, everything in your mind tells you Purdue wipes the floor with them and this is over, but it's a rivalry. It's in Indiana. There's a lot of pressure on Purdue. Needs to win this game to get into the championship. I have a feeling this could be closer than people think. The big name I'm looking for here in this game is McCoby. If McCoby is healthy, I think this is just a great spot for him, and I want to get as many shares of him as I can. I definitely want to keep an eye on if he's playing. If he's not playing, then that makes Downing one of the best values on the slate because at 3,700, he's going to get a ton of carries against a pretty weak defense. So I like this Purdue running game. Just want to understand who's healthy to make sure we get the right guy in there.
Yeah, and I like that, but I will tell you my favorite play in this game is Charlie Jones, and I know he's priced up, and I get it, but Indiana has just been atrocious against the pass this year. I think they've allowed, if I'm looking here, they're ranked 269th as a pass defense. They've let up 28 touchdowns in the air. Jones has started to come back on lately and scored 2 touchdowns in the last couple of games, but I mean, every game he's just a volume guy, right? I mean, as long as we got O'Connell back there, he's going to Jones, and he's not even looking twice. So I think this is one game. Jones, 93 receptions this year in 11 games. I like Maccabee like you, and then I like Jones a ton today.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jones is their best player, right? And this is one of the best players in the country. So he definitely has a spot against a weak defense to go off. On the Indiana side, there's no one I'm interested in.
Nope.
All right, let's keep it moving. Minnesota, Wisconsin. There's only one player in this game I'm even considering or looking at, and that's Ibrahim on Minnesota. He is matchup proofed, in my opinion, in that he'll get 30 to 40 carries. They'll just feed him the ball at that volume. He's going to get 100 yards, and it's just a matter of how many times he gets in the end zone. Because if he gets in twice, then he's a smash play.
Yeah, I mean, even against Iowa, this great defense. I think they ran for 300 yards last week. Don't be scared of Ibrahim. I will say I'm interested a little bit in this Daniel Jackson from Minnesota. He's, I'm not going to say he's going to break the slate, but he's got half the targets from that new quarterback back there. So they don't throw a ton, but if they throw it all, they're throwing to Jackson. And he's been decent lately. He's been averaging about 11, 12 points DK in his last 4. And I'll take that at 4,700 and just hope for maybe a touchdown there. And then you're up in the 18, 19 range and really hitting. So Jackson, I'll have my eye on a few cheap plays there.
I like it. All right. The big news came out for Utah yesterday in that Thomas is going to the NFL and is not playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that opens up, unfortunately for us, the backup running back, I don't know why they put Glover. I think it's Bernard. But it says Glover. So maybe we don't know who the backup is. I'm pretty sure it's Bernard. I'm going to be playing Bernard. And if I'm wrong, then I guess that's what rolling the dice does for you. But again, this is a pretty soft matchup against Colorado. They're pretty bad on defense. So you want to get some exposure to this offense. My preference is the running game because Cameron Rising is 9K. And I just don't think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot when they're up by 3 or 4 scores.
No, I agree. I like that. I think Bernard's a more expensive one, so I'm definitely good with him. I I won't play Rising at that price. He's just a guy. I think he's like slowed it down a little bit from a running perspective. I know he got 7 rushes last week, but before that it was like 2, 3, 1. Since he got dinged up early in the season, so for him to pop, he needs to run, and I just don't think that's going to happen in a game like today. Colorado, he doesn't need to. So the only other guy I'll say, and I think you love him too, but Kincaid. Kincaid's a really nice matchup as always. He's his safety blanket, but 6,600 isn't a killer in my opinion. I think you could still play Kincaid today against Colorado, but I like Bernard. I like that play too.
I love it. All right. So we still have this Iowa State TCU game. If I'm being honest here, I don't like this game from a DFS perspective. I like this Iowa State defense. They're strong. They slow the game down. I do think TCU will find a win, but I don't think it's going to be by a lot of points scored. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Maybe I'll consider a lineup or two with Norton because he gets a lot of carries. He hasn't been very good with them, but at under 5K, a guy that gets that many touches is someone you can consider. And, of course, Hutchinson's one of the best receivers in the country, so they throw to him so much. He's always in play, but that's probably all I'm really looking at here.
I'm with you. I think it's Hutchinson on one side, and still at 8K is a little bit juiced up. I'd rather have Charlie Jones for sure in that environment at 78. But Hutchinson, I could still play. He's going to get 12 plus target. You're going to be guaranteed double-digit points. It's just, can he really go off against TCU? They're not great defensively. So you can. It's just, I don't trust the quarterback as much.
And you know what? Just to add some chaos to the college football playoff, I kind of think Iowa State might win that game and really throw a wrench into things.
We talked offline last week, and Baylor was one of my plays. They ended up covering. It's just, I'm with you here. I think we're just getting the point. TCU hasn't had a bye since I think week 3 or 4. They've been playing on an empty tank the last couple of weeks, using up all that mojo and energy. This is a scary spot for them. I know it's in TCU. We watched a scary spot yesterday with Iowa and Nebraska. When all that pressure's on, I'm saying you're on to something. I'm telling you, I think Iowa State's the play. I don't know about an outright. It could be, but they're going to be in this game.
Yeah. And tell you, while the Iowa State offense isn't very good, their defense is very good. They're going to make TCU work to get in the end zone. So,
and that coach is a good underdog coach, Campbell. So he plays better as a dog. So,
for sure,
that's something to keep in mind.
All right. The last game here to look at is this Penn State-Michigan State game. Michigan State's been pretty disappointing all year. Their defense is bad. Their offense doesn't really move the ball. I like Penn State here. The only guys I really like from Penn State are the running game, and Singleton is my preference. He's been the guy who's making explosive plays. Getting him under 6K is a good price. Other than that, I'm probably not too interested in this game.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Katron Allen is still in play, but as we've said in past weeks, don't play them together. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but find ways to mix them in and out. But I'd lean more towards Singleton. He's just more the explosive guy. Katron gets a little bit more in the pass game, but versus Michigan State defense, if you're passing, you're usually passing downfield and not laterally. So I think I like Singleton better too.
There you have it. That is a wrap. It's 14 games. Listen, today's going to be a fun day. DFS or not, there's a lot of great games, rivalry games. There's going to be some upsets on rivalry day. We're going to have some fun with it. The last maybe big 14-game slate of the year, but not the last slate of the year. We will be back. Good luck today, Dave. Anything I am missing?
No, that's it. But let's say this. We've been rolling for 13, 14 weeks now. We will not die down during college bowl game season. We'll be around anytime that there's a good slate on the board. We'll definitely hop in there and give you guys our DFS plays. There's still money to be won bowl season. Actually, when you condense, it's like that turkey day, right? In the NFL and the NFL playoffs, when you can condense those slates, we can get some more leverage and advantage when we have, kind of insight that we give out. So, no, hit the like button, smash it, subscribe to Win Daily Sports, and Joel, let's keep winning.
That's it. Keep getting those W's. $5.99 per week. Sign up. We'll be back next week where we'll see how you did. We'll count our winnings, and we'll do it again. Good luck.